Rightio, just rolling into the Royal Flying Doctor Service Centre, the museum here, where you can have a walk around, and I'm looking forward to this because we work our butts off raising money for these guys, so to learn a bit more of the history and where they came from and what they do, because they actually do a lot more than what people think they do, so for the communities. So yeah, really looking forward to going in here and having a look around, and of course, as always, we'll take you along with us. But yeah, it's just out near the next to the Broken Hill Airport is where you'll find it. And once we get in there and find out how much admission and all that is, we'll let you know. Probably pop it in here down the bottom. And yeah, looking forward to.
It is $10 entry per adult.
Yeah, yeah, we'll let you know though. But yeah, we'll get our park and head on in.
Sitting by the campfire, staring out above. Memories, not money, that's what we're thinking of. From the ocean to the outback, our spirits take flight. With the waves crashing, we're gonna make things right. Riding on the open road, wind in our hair. Exploring Australia, we ain't got no care. Laying under shining stars, feeling so free. In this vast land, we found our destiny. Lost in the outback, we'll find our way. With campfires burning and dreams they'll never fade. Through the highs and lows we'll navigate. In this journey of life we'll find our own fate.
Okay, so just here we've got what we call the Broken Hill Wall. It essentially outlines a few key points in Broken Hill's history. Of course, it begins about 50,000 years ago when the Willikali people first inhabited the area. They've been here just about ever since. Now, the first European here was the explorer Charles Sturt in 1844. Now, he passed through and named the Barrier Ranges, which are the set of hills around Broken Hill. But interestingly, whilst he was here, he noted seeing a broken hill, which of course later became known as the Broken Hill, but was also, unbeknownst to Sturt, the top of the line of load, which is the ore body that lies under the city here. Then through the 1860s, pastoralists began moving into the area to establish sheep grazing stations. Now, the closest one to Broken Hill at that time was the Mount Gibbs, which is about 20 k's northeast of here. Now, in 1883, there was a German boundary rider working there called Charles Rasp. One day, he was working in the Broken Hill paddock, named so because it had Sturt's Broken Hill in it. Now, while he was there, Rasp looked at that rocky outcropping and he thought to himself, that looks like it's got a bit of ore in it. So he took a sample, and the sample had a bit of a shine, so he thought it might have been tin. He had that sample sent to Adelaide to get that confirmed. But it came back that it was actually a mix of silver and lead, which of course is far more valuable than tin. So Rasp then sought to capitalise on that. In 1885, he, along with a few fellow station employees, known as the Syndicate of Seven, which sounds a little bit like a boy band, but it was actually the beginnings of the Broken Hill Proprietary Company Limited, or BHP. So they then began staking claims to the hill, sinking shafts into it, and very quickly they discovered the line of lode, which to my knowledge was one of the largest silver and lead deposits in the world. Now that of course kicked off the mining boom in the area. By 1888, Broken Hill was declared a municipality or a city. Now it was also at that stage that we got our first railway line, which connected us with South Australia, which is why we run on South Australian time even though we're still in New South Wales, so it's only slightly confusing. Now this next date's not on the board, but in 1928, this gentleman here, the very Reverend John Flynn, started an organisation up in Cloncurry, Queensland, known as the Australian Aerial Medical Service, which is essentially the precursor to the Flying Doctor Service. Then 9 years later, in 1937, they opened their fourth base in Australia, which was the base here in Broken Hill, although originally being a radio base about 5 kilometres out of town on the Wilcannia Road. Interestingly, the building for it's still there today, but it's actually being used as outback astronomy now, rather than the RFDS. Then in 1939, BHP left Broken Hill, ceasing all extraction here and selling their mines. Very interestingly, they haven't done anything here since, even though we're such a big part of their history, but also their name. The other thing was, when they left, they actually predicted that the ore body would dry up within about 5 years. Of course, 86 years later today, we're still here and we're still mining. So I'd say someone made a rather large miscalculation there. Then around about 1942, the Australian Aerial Medical Service changed its name to the far simpler Flying Doctor Service, which of course was a step closer to what it is today. The last step came in 1955, a year after Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II visited Broken Hill. Now while she was here, she came out to the Flying Doctor base, spent an afternoon on our radio network and was so impressed with our service that the following year she sent out the Royal Ascent, allowing us to have Royal in our title, which of course was very exciting. Now to you guys who've just joined, my name's Hudson, I'm your guide. Don't worry, what you've missed at the start you'll see at the end, a bit like a hop on hop off bus. It'll all make sense when you finish. Now in 1970, the railway line from here to Sydney was upgraded and pushed through to Perth, standardising it all along the way and essentially turning it into the transcontinental line, which of course still runs through Broken Hill today. Now this next date's quite an important one, but they've got to put it on here. In 2003, your tour guide was born. How can they forget that? My goodness. Well, no, on a more serious note, in 2015, Broken Hill became the first city in Australia on the National Heritage List, and actually so far the only city on that list. Okay, just through in here. Okay, so just here we've got a desk. It's a mock-up of John Flynn, our founder's desk, although the typewriter just there is one of the actual ones he used. It's going to tell you a bit of a story, and I'll wander back when it finishes.
Ardent of spirit and compassionate of heart, John Flynn became an Australian humanitarian hero for his transformation of the outback as the founder of the Flying Doctor Service. Flynn may have had fly in his name, but it was his 17 painstaking years of work on the ground that embedded the aeromedical legend. His tireless advocacy revealed the needs, promise, and soul of the inland, as a newly federated Australia learned how to act like a nation. After protracted trial and error, Traeger invented the solution the establishment said he couldn't, the pedal radio, clearing the most impenetrable obstacle. Throughout, Flynn always got out of the bog, never lost his nerve, and canvassed far and wide, gaining apprenticeships in everything from radio assembly to hospital building. On May 17, 1928, a mere 25 years after the first powered flight anywhere in the world, a Flying Doctor plane took off from an outback airstrip in Queensland, launching an Australian icon that is still vital today.
The top of
you can see there's a couple of little whistles. Just explain how this works. If you had an emergency, it would be in conjunction with this radio. You pick up the handpiece, you pick up the whistle, you blow into the small whistle for about 4 seconds. Have a 3-second break, blow into the larger whistle for 6 seconds. Now what that would do, just with the 2 different tones of the whistle, it could remotely activate an alarm at the mother station. So from 200-300 mile away, just by blowing a couple of whistles, you could turn that alarm on, people would take the emergency call. So he was a very clever man, wasn't he? Probably in terms of our Australian history, he's never really been acknowledged enough for his wonderful innovation. Come through into this area here, guys, if you don't mind.
Anyone could operate it, though?
Yeah.
So that makes it.
Yeah, it makes it nice and simple.
Yeah, simple.
So in the corner here, folks, we've got a medical chest. Now there's about 2,390 of these still in the outback of Australia today. You'll find them in outback pubs, police stations, post offices. But more importantly, they're in the homesteads of the people living in these remote areas. Now they are kept under lock and key because, as you can see inside, there's over 300 medical supplies, medications, which are all number coded. So the doctor or the nurse would advise whoever's in charge to dispense or administer a particular drug. Now they did legislate in Australian Parliament to allow Australia Post to carry the replacement drugs out to these remote areas. And when the use-by dates come along again, Australia Post will bring them into the different bases, and then the head nurse, together with one of the local police officers, they'll dispose of it. So it's all recorded, all audited. But there is a bit of bush folklore out this way. It's a story of an old bushman. He was terribly ill. The doctor told him over the radio he needed to take 2 number 9 tablets. He said, I'll call you in the morning and see how you feel. Now, the next day when the doctor called, the old bushman said he was feeling pretty good. He said, I haven't felt this good in years, which impressed the doctor. But he just asked, he said, you did take those 2 number 9 tablets. Well, the old bushman, he was very, very sheepish. He said, well, Doc, no, the number 9 bottle was empty. I've had to take a number 7 and a number 2. So he made his own prescription up. Now, guys, it is a true story. I'm not winding you up. It's in our history archives, but he must have been a bit of a character. G'day, guys. How are you? Welcome along. My name's Andrew. What we're doing there, we're conducting clinics, primary healthcare clinics, dental clinics, and we have a mental health team. So these clinics we do daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, just depending on the size of the community and the need, is how often we go out. On average, Australia-wide, we do about 21,000 of these clinics per year, which will give us over 380,000 total patient contacts. Sadly though, those emergency retrievals haven't reduced. We still average per day 110 emergency retrievals per day. Now that's not just Broken Hill, of course, that's Australia-wide, but we've got 23 bases. So if you do your sums, it's about 5 emergency retrievals per day per base, so it's extraordinary. Now with our aircraft, we've got 81 in total Australia-wide. Physically per day, we'll fly 1.5 times around the Earth, and for the year we'll fly 5 to 6 times to the moon and back. Obviously not to the moon, but that's the distance we cover, which is 26,500,000 kilometres. Wow. So guys, it's a lot of frequent fly points, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is.
But we recommend you don't fly with us unless you're staff. So let's keep our friendship this way and don't start flying with us. Guys, I'm going to take you out and have a chat about 1 to scale built model aircraft. So these are 5 of the 6 different aircraft that have ever flown in Broken Hill, from 1937 up until today. The only aircraft we don't have is the one directly above the doorway there, that yellow aircraft, and that's what we call is a Beagle. But one of our engineers, we've got 13 engineers here in Broken Hill, have said that they'll, he's actually nearly completed building it to scale built model, similar to this size here, which will hang just right outside here. And so that'll complete 6 different type of aircraft that have ever flown in Broken Hill. Now, we started with this aircraft here, which is a Fox Moth with the 1 engine, and then we moved to the aircraft in the ceiling, which is the Dragon, and then the bigger aircraft right inside here, the green aircraft, which is a Drover. Now you can see it had 3 engines, so we basically went from 1 engine to 2 engines to 3 engines. Now, our pilots, which we've got 10 here in Broken Hill, have said to fly this aircraft would have been a challenge because they had to get every one of those 3 engines all in sync, all at the same speed, the same revs, and they're all individually controlled, so quite a challenge. The other problem the pilots had flying these aircraft in those early days was that there was no real navigation instruments other than maps and charts and compasses. So quite often they were relying heavily on landmarks. They might be following roads, rivers, creeks, telegraph poles, railway lines. But of course, during the evening, well, you can't see those things. So if there was an emergency 200-300 mile north of Broken Hill, our communications room would contact outlying properties, have them set up huge big bonfires, and they basically fly to the glow of the bonfire, zigzagging their way there when they knew they're at their destination, because in those early days there was no actual airstrips, it was just open paddocks, clay pans. So the people at the emergency site, they were instructed to gather together as many tins they could find, paint tins, Milo tins, fill them with some sand, pop in a toilet roll, soak them in some kerosene, line them up in 2 parallel lines, set them alight, and the pilot prays to God they can land safely. So they're brave souls, weren't they? Eh? So after that we moved to the beauty, and then we moved to the aircraft in the back left-hand corner, which is a Nomad. And these are Australian-made aircraft, and these were renowned for their short landing and takeoff ability. So these aircraft could land and take off in 500 metres, whereas our aircraft we fly today needs 1.2 kilometres. Now they're built in the government air factories down in Melbourne, Point Cook, Fisherman's Bend, if you're familiar. Not only did we fly them, but Australian Defence Force, Border Security and Australia Post. And then we moved to the aircraft on our right-hand side here. This is the Beechcraft King Air. This is the type of aircraft we fly today. And as you can see, it's a dual-engine aircraft. These are manufactured in Wichita, in Kansas, USA, but the actual engines, they get manufactured in Canada. They're what we call a Pratt & Whitney aircraft. Now this one flew for us for 30 years here in Broken Hill. Normally they only fly for 20 years, 20,000 flight hours, whichever comes first. Then we would off-sell them, auction them off and get money to go towards a newer aircraft. But given we were building this exhibition, we kept it for the 30 years, its maximum life.
Living in the outback, I absolutely love it because it's home. There's nothing I love more than getting out of the car when we've been away and you step back into the red dirt.
A lot of people come out and say, well, how do you live out here? I love it, Lee. At night when it's all quiet, you don't hear a thing. You just don't hear nothing. That's what I love.
Some other challenges I would see that we have to contend with living out here. Obviously, during the good years when the grass is growing and the sheep are fat and, all those sorts of things, it's just an amazing spot to be. Going into a dry period, it can be really quite taxing. The remoteness, the isolation, it takes a lot out of people mentally.
The rural industry is a pretty dangerous one, so, if you come off a motorbike and you've got life-threatening injuries, you could be lying in the scrub screaming for a long time waiting for a conventional ambulance.
Our appetite for risk is a lot higher because we also are probably risk takers just in our businesses because of the landscape that we work in every day and operate in every day.
We'd all be bugging without the flying doctors out here. They saved my life. I've got thrown out when I lost my arm. Myself, Bernie and Clinton were taking gear back down to the Gymkhana grounds and having a good time listening to music, and then that's when the buggy rolled over me and the dust settled and everyone got up. There was my arm hanging by a piece of skin. I thought, if I don't do something quick, I'm just going to bleed out, so I had the Gymkhana ground keys and wrapped it around my arm as a tourniquet. Pulling up to the roadhouse, everyone kind of looked over from the veranda and thought we had a kangaroo leg and we were marking around, and then they seen that we actually needed help, and they all kind of just stopped. A lot of people turned pretty pale. Once I got back here, I knew that I could relax because the flying doctor wasn't too far away. They were actually overhead with another patient. If they weren't around, I wouldn't have made it to town, and I think that's the thing when you're so far away from medical, you rely on the flying doctor to come and save the day.
Work for me with most meaningful and satisfying is when we're doing these primary health mobile clinics, actually going out, spending an hour and a half with each patient, really learning about each other and trying to help them stay in the place that they want to be living.
The service that we provide is critical, and being a part of that is what gets your juices flowing, to be quite honest. The level of enjoyment you get when you're helping someone, I can't actually put a value on it. I just find it extremely enjoyable and rewarding.
I love working for the RFDS. To be able to go hundreds of k's away to deliver care to people that wouldn't have had the opportunity to obtain care is amazing.
In the context of aeromedicine, you've got the added, pressure of a medical emergency that you're dealing with, and so it's important as a pilot in aeromedicine to be able to stay calm and not let that extra pressure interfere with your ability to complete those safety critical tasks successfully. I can imagine for those on the ground waiting for us to arrive, every minute probably feels like an hour. When we open those doors, you can just see the sense of relief wash over people's faces. You get to the end of the day after a difficult day and you've got a great sense of feeling that you've really helped someone today. And so that's something that's fantastic to walk away from each day after you finish.
In the next generation, I'd like to see the flying doctors still around. It's a pivotal part of these communities. The amount of times that we've used the flying doctor, I'm ashamed to say, my mother did a count the other day, and I think she said she counted up about 35 times. Every time I hear the flying doctor, I stop, I think. I thank God for the fact that all of my family are safe and well, thanks to the flying doctor.
Well, the flying doctor, I wouldn't be sitting there. He's helped me out a lot. Not only me, everyone around here, he's quick. I'm flying doctor.
No matter who you are coming out of the bush, if you don't know the area and something does happen, then it's the flying doctor that you're going to depend on at the end of the day.
So if there's one thing that I can say to anyone who is watching this, please support the Royal Flying Doctor Service. It's a really important institution, and whatever we can do, we've got to keep it on.
Wentworth Station in northern New South Wales, calling VJC Royal Flying Doctor Service, Broken Hill. I need urgent help. Over.
This is VJC Broken Hill. Go ahead, Wentworth Station. What's the problem? Over.
Our tractor rolled over on my husband. He was caught under it. He's in a lot of pain. Over.
What's your name? Over.
My name is Margaret, or Maggie. My husband's name is Ben. Over.
Okay, Maggie. Now, you just stay calm. We're here to help you.
Rightio, well that was awesome. I really love that.
Yeah, it was really, really good, and I absolutely recommend if you're coming through Broken Hill to put that one on your list. Super informative and shows you more of what the Royal Flying Doctors do. They're not just doctors.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're more than doctors, and especially to rural communities, what they do, it's unreal. And yeah, it's quite
and just to
informative
learn
and
where they all came from at the
yeah,
start, like how it all started.
Yeah, super awesome. So put it on your list. Royal Flying Doctors Museum, Broken Hill. It's just near the airport. $25 for adults, $10 for children. Children under 5 are free.
And it'd probably take you about an hour to get through.
Yeah, give yourself an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit more.
Yep.
And then at the end they got like a little souvenir place you can walk around and buy some souvenirs to help them out with their funding as well. So yeah, put it on your list for sure.
Go check it out.